Lomasa told the group of sages that he would narrate an old legend describing an event that happened ages ago and went on to tell the story. Long time ago, there was a Vaisya named Nandi who lived in the city of Avanti. He was deeply devoted to the worship of Shiva. Every day, he worshipped a linga in a pen's grove, performing rituals meticulously with lavish offerings such as flowers, pearls, and precious gems. Nandi's worship was conducted according to scriptural injunctions, and he was always surrounded by Brahmanas who had mastered the Vedas. Mahakala was a Kirata or forester interested in hunting and indulging in sinful activities, and one day, whilst wandering in the forest, he stumbled on Nandi's temple. Extremely thirsty, he found a lake, and after quenching his thirst, he noticed Nandi's temple and the linga that had been excellently worshipped by Nandi. Mahakala tossed the gems away and began to worship the linga with whatever he had, including venison and bilwa leaves. He bathed the linga with a mouthful of water. He made a solemn vow to worship Shiva from that day onwards, considering Shiva his master and himself his devotee. When Nandi returned to the temple, he found everything in disarray and was anxious about the impurity caused by Mahakala's offerings. He became anxious and worried, and after pondering for a long time, he washed the temple and returned home, where he met his priest. The priest told him, "Let us both go to the Shiva temple in the morning to see that wicked fellow. Thereafter, I shall do what should be done." Nandi remained home during the night with his mind extremely pained about the event. Nandi went to the temple the next morning, accompanied by the priest, and performed his worship once again as usual. The Kirata also arrived at the time, and he did exactly what he had done before. He kicked aside all the gems, pearls, and objects of worship that Nandi and the priest had set up, and instead offered the bilwa leaves, offered a piece of flesh for the naivedya, that is a food offering, and bathed the linga with a mouthful of water. Nandi, who was agitated with the event, invited many Brahmanas and exponents of the Vedas to his house, and he and the priest recounted the events to them. "What should be done?" he inquired of the learned ones. The learned ones advised him. "O excellent Vaisya, bring that linga to your own abode," they said. Then Nandi dug out the Shivalinga, brought it to his own house, and consecrated it duly after placing it on a golden pedestal rendered splendid by means of the 9 precious stones. He then performed puja with various kinds of rites and articles of worship. The next day, the Kirata came to the temple of Shiva, and on glancing about could not see the linga. Mahakal got desperate and scolded Shiva, even harming himself. His sincere devotion and intense longing moved Shiva, who appeared before him, offering to grant a boon. Mahakala, overwhelmed with joy, requested eternal devotion to Shiva, recognizing him as his Lord and Master, akin to a parent and friend. On hearing these words of the Kirata, devoid of desire, Shiva granted him the position of the chief of his attendants and the post of his doorkeeper. There was a lot of commotion. Nandi, surprised by the commotion, hurried to the penance grove where Shiva was surrounded by his attendants. Seeing Mahakala there, Nandi humbly requested him to mention him to Shiva. Shiva laughingly asked Mahakala who Nandi was. Mahakala explained Nandi's devotion and worship of Shiva with gems and flowers. Pleased by Mahakala's recommendation, Shiva accepted Nandi as his attendant, recognizing the importance of sincere devotion. Both Nandi and Mahakala were taken to Mount Kailasa, where they attained forms similar to Shiva. Girija, with a graceful gait, performed the waving of light for them. She humorously remarked how similar they were to Shiva in form and manner. The Kirata and the Vaishya, expressing their devotion, humbly requested to stand at Shiva's door perpetually. Shiva granted their wish, making them his gatekeepers or Dwarapalakas. They stood at Shiva's doorway, having visions of him daily. This legend illustrates the contrast between the ostentatious worship of Nandi, a wealthy man, and the selfless devotion of Mahakala, an ignorant tribal. Shiva valued the genuine devotion of Mahakala over the elaborate rituals of Nandi, ultimately rewarding Mahakala with his divine presence and a boon for eternal devotion. The story emphasizes the importance of sincere devotion and the idea that true worship is not measured by the grandeur of offerings but by the purity of one's heart and intentions.